Well, hi there, Jamal of Cooper Road Mini with perfect sunlight to show you what I'm up to here. I've talked a lot about how great you can make the rod change work. Here, let me show you the bits. This is the Mini Spares Quick Shift Kit. KAD makes one if you want to spend 3 times the money, but this is the one I use on my green car. And okay, granted, the KAD one is cool. It's pink or some anodized thing. This is basically black, but you know what? It's going to be under the carpet when you're done. Here's what you get. And a lot of people gripe about these. You'll hear a lot of well-known Mini people say, if I see one, I take it and throw it away. Well, I fear those folks lack the subtle skills to understand how these have to be set up and what to watch for when making them work. You'll note I have an extra one here to try to pick the best pieces. On my car, this critical knuckle at the bottom, I forget what they call it exactly now, but it was about 70 bucks to order it, and Mini Mania didn't usually stock it. But this is well worth changing. Will it work with a worn out one? Yeah. Will you complain about sloppy linkage? Maybe. But you can see this one here, if you even with just looking at it, you can see how it's well worn out over here, and that's from jamming it into second. So I could take these off and flip them over and maybe make the worn areas not as noticeable, but that's kind of a halfway fix. But let's take a look and see here what we can do following the basic instructions. Mini Spares has a funny thing here. And using mole wrench. You know, I've been around tools and stuff. I'm not sure what that is. Anybody know what that is? But anyway, luckily it punches out. I've already verified that these are pretty straightforward. If you just give it some support, you know, these holes here is how I took the first one out. But it's well loosened, and you can see flattened out. Now, the resulting hole after knocking those dowels out will allow this extension piece using these little metric screws that have a self-tapping. They make their own threads. So that bolts on. You don't really need to be concerned with the wear of the ball socket in here where the stock shifter sits, this part. Now, this happens to be a brand new rod chain. And look at that, we lost our sunlight in Northern California weather. This is the one that came out of kind of the used piece. They don't give you, it's kind of irritating, but if they gave you this spring and this cup in the kit, and I'd pay an extra $2 for that, you wouldn't then have to cut your old shifter to harvest the spring and cup, nor is this commonly available. I had to come up with a used one. So come on, Mini Spares, I mean, charge an extra few pounds and include these bits, because if this doesn't work, if you've got too much wear here or too much wear in your transmission, you're kind of stuck if you've chopped off your shifter. So anyway, in this case, this one is worn, lacking another solution. I'm going to chop one and still have an extra one. Let's do a test installation. Here's the bits we harvested from that other A+ shifter. Amazing, wiping these off. Who knows, this thing may have shifted hundreds of thousands of times, maybe more. We've installed this with this locating pin to the right. This is the front of the car, so regardless of which of your seats has a steering wheel, it's still the right side of the shifter, matching the slot in the new longer down here shifter. Let's pop it in. Let's make sure that the knuckle at the bottom is correctly installed. That lines up. You just drop the spring on, plastic spacer. This cup just kind of goes on over the thing, over the plastic, and the spring in there snaps together. And you can see the pivot point, the way these work, of course, the pivot point now has been moved up here. We've created a new seat for the ball of the shifter because the aluminum under this new spacer is worn where the ball of the shifter did all those hundreds of thousands of shifts. And you can see at the shifter, very little travel. So if that's our neutral, we're going to be like first, second, third, fourth, reverse. You know, these all have some play. There are guys out there that rebuild these with a bushing and a seal and all of that. It's, in my view, overkill to really bush these and stuff. The design allows for some movement, some slop. This will still work just fine, even though it looks like there's a bit of movement here, because all of your movement is fore and aft and rotational. So that's not really going to affect things as much, but we'll see if we can shore it up a little bit just to have the absolute best possible crispest, try saying that, crispest shifting Mini possible. There we are. We'll see how it looks in the car. And by the way, let me just make a quick mention here of our Northern California weather. Hard to see there, but we didn't even make 50 degrees. It is what is it, May 25th? We're less than 4 weeks from the longest from the summer solstice, and it is freezing. My relatives in Wales are about 15 degrees warmer there today, I think, than we achieved here in Northern California. You know, climate change could mean that some places are going to get colder and wetter. I guess we'll take it. It's almost June and it's freezing.